right, we are talking about episode 3 of Eyes of Wakanda, which was titled Lost and Found. Spoilers ahead. Now, I'll be honest, this is probably my least favorite out of the 3, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. But as far as the breakdown goes, we open this episode in 1400 China AD. Now, the opening frame had me hooked because I thought it was like visually stunning as we see like the snowy mountains, and I'm like, oh, we're in for a visually stunning episode. And again, we'll get to the story of it all, but we meet our new war dog who goes by the code name of 99, but also known as Agent Bassa. Now we see him laying next to a young woman who we'll talk about a little bit later, but he finds and takes the head of this dragon, which is holding a Wakandan artifact. Now we watch him escape as he uses this really cool looking aircraft that he hid in the snow. Now he thinks he's in the clear, but his captain mentions a protector of the people that he just stole this dragon head from, but Bassa doesn't think or pay any mind to it. He just says it is all superstition. Now we see his captain, which I believe his captain went by the name of Ebo. He shares his concerns with Bassa in regards to how he retrieved this artifact because he wasn't supposed to take the dragon's head, but we see that he also forgets to mention that he retrieved this without going unnoticed. Now, I will say, as far as one of my issues with this episode, we see that they're in 1400 AD, and we see the aircraft hangar where they store the artifacts and just the way they're carrying themselves and how they're talking. It felt like this episode was misplaced in time. I know Wakanda is super advanced, but it just felt, again, like from the design, the aesthetic, the way they carried themselves, the way they talk, just felt like it was misplaced in time. But back to the episode, we see the superstition that Bassa dismissed actually shows up and was hiding in his aircraft, and that protector is known as the Iron Fist. Now this is where I have another issue with this episode. We see the Iron Fist, who I know is very great with hand-to-hand combat, probably up there with Shang-Chi as far as like handling their own, but we see them making light of the Wakandans, and also like you would think that the storage facility where the artifacts were would be a lot more heavily guarded, especially knowing that they have Dora Milaje. So it's just like, this is where the tone of this episode felt very kiddish to me. Now, Bassa finds the Iron Fist, and he's surprised to see that it's the woman that we saw him waking up to at the start of the episode, who goes by the name of Jona. Now, here's where we get a brief flashback of how the two met each other, and she went against her instincts, and they developed a romantic relationship. And again, kind of reminded me of episode 2, where the war dog kind of took advantage of the individual and was really there for their mission. So I guess you can say once lovers, now turned enemies. And here's where we get a pretty cool chase sequence where we see them on the train, and it kind of reminded me of the first Black Panther film, where we saw Killmonger going against T'Challa. And again, speaking to the action, we see them in the artifact room and they're going back and forth. We see her using her Iron Fist powers, and she tries to hit this vibranium artifact, but it doesn't work. So again, this is probably the most entertaining part of the episode for me. And she also name drops the dragon in which she defeated to get her powers, which is very comic book accurate. Ultimately, we end this episode with them coming to an understanding. She uses her powers to take out the artifact out of the dragon's mouth, and we see their captain promoted because we see them making up some story that this was all part of a training montage and they help her get off of Wakanda. So again, this is my least favorite of the 3. Not saying it's a bad episode, but again, as far as tone and the story, it wasn't as dark and it wasn't as mature. Again, it came off very childish to me at times and very lighthearted. And again, they made the Wakandans seem a little goofy to me. Also, can't forget that there was a nice little Easter egg. They mentioned Bass, which we know is a part of the Wakandan history. It was the kind of the creator of Wakanda. So again, there's some cool Easter eggs. Seeing an Iron Fist was cool, but again, just tonally, it just wasn't as interesting as the other 2. But I'm about to watch episode 4. Again, out of the 3, this is my least favorite, but it doesn't mean it was bad. It just wasn't as engaging as the other 2 for me. But I have to watch the finale. Hopefully it's better than this one, and we have like a nice end to the story, and maybe they'll tie all 3 of them up somehow. But let me know what you all thought of episode 3. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you feel like it was a little bit kiddish at times compared to the first 2? But let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, consider subscribing and following for more. Alright, we're talking about the season series finale, episode 4 of Eyes of Wakanda, which was titled The Last Panther, aka Days of Future Past. Now, this final episode takes us to 1896 in Ethiopia, where we meet our 2 lead characters by the name of Prince Tafari and his mentor by the name of Koda. And of course, like the previous 3 episodes, they are on this mission to retrieve an artifact, but this time they're trying to do it in the middle of a war. Now, the prince was sent here by his parents, who are the king and queen of Wakanda. He's only supposed to be there to observe, but of course, he's trying to make a name for himself. He breaks protocol, he gets the artifact, and this whole sequence is very important to what happens later in the episode. Now, this is tied for my favorite episode of the show because there's a lot of big Easter eggs. Number 1, we see the Watcher. After the opening credits, the Watcher's in the sky watching him, which makes me wonder, was he watching other episodes? Did I miss the Watcher in previous episodes? And does this now make What If canon? Because we know that this show is canon, so many questions. But back into the episode, this is where we see the prince talking to Kuda in regards to, again, he wants to make his name stand out. He wants to be in the history books. He's the 3rd child. His other brothers are lined up for a throne, and he wants to stand out. But speaking of standing out, they get caught in the middle of the road by this mysterious figure who knocks them off their path, and this mysterious person is a Black Panther. They fight this Black Panther, they remove their masks, it's revealed to be a Black Panther from the future, and she tells them and shows them what happens 500 years from now, which puts them in 2096. Now, this is where the Days of Future Past comes into the mix for me, because we see that Wakanda is now a graveyard, Wakanda is on the final battles, and they're almost on the verge of being defeated. Now, here's where we get another cool Easter egg for my comic book fans. As we see in the future, the aliens that's taken over the world are known as the Horde, which are from the comics. Now, the Black Panther uses their quantum scanner to look over all the events of the previous 3 episodes, and she finds the exact moment in which the timeline is affected, because we see our characters that find the axe. It plays and ties directly into the events of 2018's Black Panther, where Killmonger takes that axe. As we come to an end of the episode, this is where everything comes together, and the prince, who again was so focused on making a name for himself, he actually follows orders, he puts the axe back. Meantime, we see the fight with the Black Panther and the Horde, and it all comes together in this really high tense action sequence. And ultimately, the prince completes his mission and saves not only the day but saves the future, and we end the episode with seeing Killmonger in the museum. So yeah, as I recap that episode, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, this is probably my favorite episode of the series. I'm a huge time travel fan. I love science fiction. I love the Days of Future Past, butterfly effect, the Easter eggs from the Watcher, Killmonger. This episode was fire. So with that being said, if I were to rank all 4 episodes, I would go episode 4, 1, 2, and 3. But overall, just my overall thoughts of the series, why was Marvel hiding this? Why didn't they not market this show? This was a lot of fun to me. Again, you guys saw my recap of episode 3. It's probably my least favorite of 3 because of the tone of it all, but I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the animation. The action was legit. The violence in the first episode really stood out, and I just like how it shows the history of Wakanda, and particularly the War Dogs. Again, man, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. If I had any criticisms besides episode 3, I wish the episodes were maybe a little bit longer, and also I wish that we got more episodes. But overall, like I said, I quite enjoyed myself. I'm gonna give this series a 3.8 out of 5, and I hope that maybe Marvel has plans to maybe do more of this anthology type of shows that connect to the greater picture. It doesn't really shake things up in the main timeline, but gives us more history to the MCU. So if you guys watch all 4 of my breakdowns, I really appreciate y'all, man. I really enjoyed myself, and I hope you all did as well. But let me know in the comments, what did you think of episode 4? What did you think of all of the episodes? Which was your favorite? What was your least favorite? What were some Easter eggs you all called out? Do you want to see more from Eyes of Wakanda, or do you want to see more of this anthology storytelling style in the future in the MCU? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Again, I appreciate y'all. Don't forget to consider to subscribe and follow for more.